Guys, welcome back to Planet Tyro. I'm your host, Donald Wonder. So, I think earlier this year I did a book review for a popular book series that I was very disappointed in only because it hadn't finished. It was meant to be a trilogy, then the author extended it into 4 books, and I didn't feel it needed to be 4 books. And I got a lot of shit about it. Some people messaged me that, oh, what is wrong with you, man? Why would you want more of that great story? I felt you really could have condensed that. The reason why I'm bringing it up first is because one of my subscribers was like, you know what, why don't you go back and read his previous trilogy, the Night Angel trilogy, because this one you might like a little bit more, and it is a trilogy as he said it was going to be originally, and you might like it more than the previous trilogy, Lightbringer. So I said, okay, let's check it out. And I have some thoughts to say on it because now I've completed it, and let's get into it.
Tyro Media.
So we're talking about the Night Angel trilogy. Night Angel trilogy is a series of action fantasy, very dark action fantasy stories. It was written by Brent Weeks, who was the author I spoke about, who wrote the Lightbringer trilogy, which is a very popular book series that's actually just about to finish the last book, which I'll do a review on later. But like I said, one of my subscribers said, go back and read that trilogy because it was his first trilogy. I believe it was his first one. It was really enjoyable, and I want to hear your thoughts on that because you might like that more than Lightbringer. I'm slurring my words. So the premise to the Night Angel trilogy is about this young boy named Arzoff, if I'm pronouncing that right. He's pretty much just a little slum boy, runs around. It starts off when he's about, 8 or 10 years old, and he's a bit of an orphan, and he runs around with this little street gang just to make ends meet. The world is set in this, like this, again, it's kind of Game of Thrones world where it's about kingdoms and princes, and he's on a pauper level. He's poor, he gets beaten up by his gang leader or whatever, and basically he just wants to live a better life for himself. And because it's such a dire world, the only way he can see for himself to evolve into something, to a strong man, to someone who can survive, is to become, well, there's these assassins in this world that do all these killings, and they're idolized by the populace because they're so dangerous and they're so idolized for their skill. They're kind of like magical assassin ninjas. And the only way this boy sees of getting out of his life is if he adopts one. Well, not adopts one, if he apprentices himself to one of these cool assassins, and he tries to apprentice himself to one of the most legendary assassins in the whole city or the whole world or whatever. And basically the story is, well, without a spoiler, how he becomes apprenticed to this assassin, how he becomes this great assassin, and how his destiny is maybe even more tied to that. This is a story of empires, of assassinations, of friendship, of love, and it's a trilogy. And like I said, for the most part, let me just cut to the shit and say I enjoy this book very much. Brent Weeks does really good primary and secondary characterization. He writes very charismatic, very enjoyable, very realistic characters that have very interesting dialogue, that feel very real, that don't feel stoic and stale. And the main character, Arzoff, when he gets a different name later, he became, when he was a kid, I didn't really like him, but as he got older, he became very charismatic, very funny. And I should say, the book trilogy was also adapted by graphic audio. I listened to the graphic audio dramatized version, which has high action sound effects, a whole cast of characters. This was a great audio production. Again, I'm always praising graphic audio. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This book is seriously dark. The violence, this is some of the goriest violence I've heard in the book series. It sounds great. Also, this is a very, very adult book. There are pretty intense sex and rape scenes in it. It's not gratuitous, but it's not for kids at all. This is actually one of the most rawest action fantasy books I've heard. But it's got good comedy, it's got good action. The primary and secondary characters, I said, on the whole, I like them. But let me break the trilogy into the 3. The first book was the best for me. It got a good setup. It set everything. The only thing I didn't like about the first book actually was that in a trilogy, the first books always set up the pieces of the chessboard, like who's the kings, who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. It took me a long time to actually settle in to understand where everything fits. Longer than it usually does. But by the end of the first book, a lot of all the groundwork was set, and halfway through the first book, I was good. That was good. But it was just a little bit, it kind of just baffled me a little bit of who's this person, how they relate to the story, these kings and queens. But the characters on the whole are good. Really fun, really good. The villains, they're actually good. The second book has the major protagonist in my mind, the Dark King or whatever, the Queen Lord. But anyway, overall, the first book was the best. The second and the third book, I kind of put them together. Because the second book is very slow, because the main character's kind of on a hiatus. I'm not getting into spoilers. And then the second and the third book tied very closely together. So the third book was good. The first and the third book are the best. The second book I don't like as much. The whole trilogy on the whole, pretty solid. But the same criticism I had for the Lightbringer, I still think he's got a lot of fat that he could trim. But it's forgiven this time because it's a trilogy and it's still pretty enjoyable. But particularly with the second book, when Azoth was kind of out in the wind on his little, let's call it a vacation or whatever. I understand in terms of what the story was doing, it was necessary. But for me, it was kind of like, could have been tighter. But actually, my last criticism, I do have good to say. I always be critical like this, guys. The very last encounter, it was one of them. It was one of them battles, like one of them old school battles where everyone combine your hands and put all your powers together to join the. I don't like those monumental kumbaya-ish. Everyone put all their powers together. Everyone's holding hands. I'm making it sound very corny, but at the end, I don't like that. I like something a little bit more unconventional, or I like one-on-one. Obviously, I'm being very personal here. But I thought the ending was just a little bit too kumbaya in terms of how they all had to come together. But let me just say this. Main character, very good. In fact, the main character and his master, these two characters are actually one of my favorite apprentice and master relationships I've ever read in fiction, really. Their relationship is so great. Is it Durzo Blink? What a great character. In the first book, he's such a hard ass, but as the series progresses, not getting spoilers, I just loved him and the Azoth and Durzo. Their relationship was great. The love interest in the book for Azoth is really good. I liked it. There's kind of a love triangle. There's a lot of love triangles. There's a lot of sex and stuff. It's just, you know what? I'm rambling. The book is enjoyable. It's an enjoyable fantasy drama. It's not too heavy on characterization, like deep characterization, but the plots are good. There's a lot of intrigue. I cared about the characters for the most part. Like I said, I just felt a little bit of filler bits here and there, but on the whole, I like the book. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a solid B. Graphic Audio did a great job with the dramatization. Excellent job. The voice acting was great. Everything like that was good. This was a really good action, fantasy, high fantasy story, and I'll give it props. What I will say is, the Lightbringer, the series I've been bitching about, the one I got hate for when they recommended this book to me instead, it's stronger than this, but it's got more filler than this. And again, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, the Lightbringer should have been a trilogy still, because this book shows that Brent Weeks is really good at writing characters, likable, charismatic characters. But sometimes you can just put too many characters or just dwell on things too much, just a bit of filler here and there. But overall, he still writes good books, and this trilogy and the Lightbringer are two solid B recommendations I would really recommend without a doubt. You like high fantasy action stories, check them out. They're not too deep, but they're very enjoyable. More on the action, character fun level. But I will say, this book is pretty dark, especially with sex and violence. But I like that shit, so I was all in. So that's enough for me. The Night Angel Trilogy is a solid B, as I've said about 4 times now. Check it out if you don't mind, if you take my recommendation. And if you've read the Night Angel Trilogy, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. If you disagree, you agree with my opinions, always open to hear the opinions. I heard it before, so I know I'll hear it again, especially if you've read the trilogy already. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want more content on your YouTube channel. And also, you can see on the right here, annotations to all the other stuff we do, which is movies, TV shows, animations, books, just like this one, and random stuff every once in a while. But guys, thanks for watching again. I hope I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care. Peace out.